When we talk about strategic planning in C12, we talk about there being at least 5 critical rhythms or disciplines or components that we should always be thinking about on some regularity as we approach the planning season. And we could talk about the difference between planning, strategically planning, having a strategy, having a plan. But as we think about this whole set of disciplines, the 5 we talk about is because we believe that God owns everything. Our business belongs to God. We belong to God. We are managers and stewards. The first thing is to get on God's agenda. So we call that looking up. How do we connect with the Father and get on His agenda for His business, for His purposes? You got to look in. Who are we? What's our purpose? What's our mission? What's our vision? What's our values? There's, of course, looking back. What happened last year? Recent period performance. What are we learning? What results did we get? And how does that inform current reality and future needs? We've talked about the fact that long-term planning helps us make near-term decisions. And so sometimes you have to look back at the present from the future to understand what to do next. Super important discipline. And then, of course, looking around. What are your competitors doing? What's technology doing? SWOT analysis, pestle analysis, all the different things that help us to look at forces and factors that we have to respond to as leaders in business. But today, we want to talk about the critical discipline of looking in. This is really a question about identity and direction and not losing sight of who we are and why we exist. And this is fundamental to the C12 experience. One of the things we believe uniquely is that if we are followers of Jesus, if that's my identity, then how does that identity translate horizontally into the leadership of the business? And so every business has got mission, vision, values, your culture. Every business has got how you do operations, revenue, sales and marketing, customer relationships. Every business has got ministry. You've got finance, and then you've got all the org dev elements. And if you think about the C12 member experience, we are regularly going, okay, let's look at your business and let's go, what's best practice? What's the gap analysis? What are methods that's working? What's not? How do we apply biblical worldview, the eternal perspective? And how do we keep reimagining and assessing and growing in enterprise fitness, but uniquely weaving it through the identity of the business? What's unique about your business versus my business? And how does that identity reflect who I am as a leader, my identity in Christ, and His lordship over this company? That's really built into the C12 experience. Well, that is why it's super important that we look in when we approach strategic planning and we ask the question, do we have the necessary clarity and integration? So when it comes to planning, it's easy to talk about, are we planning strategically? Are we doing a strategic plan? Do we have a plan? Do we have a strategy? All those words are kind of semantics for each other. Well, every business has to have a strategy. Who are we? What's our plan? How do we get from here to there? Every business has got to have execution. And there's tons of systems you can use for this stuff. So whether you're using EOS, scaling up, balanced scorecard, the C12 strategic planning model, high impact business, there are 40X, there's so many different systems and tools out there that can help you get things done. I was talking to the CEO of EOS years ago about these different execution systems and operating systems versus what we do in C12. And I love the way he gave language to it. He said, at the end of the day, these systems are all about how do you get the ball down the field farther, faster, and with fewer fumbles. Alignment and speed and agility and accountability, all those excellent things. But it presupposes the macro questions, the visionary questions of, are we even playing the right game? Why are we on this field? What are we trying to win for? What's the kind of team we want to be? That's the linkage we've got to distinguish between picking a strategy, assessing which execution system is going to work for you, and that hinges upon clarity of mission and clarity of vision. So in the lack of that, if you don't have a really clear mission of here's who we are, what does that mean? This is purpose. This is calling. This is what's the problem we're solving in the world. We talk in C12 a lot about your ideal customer profile. Who are you helping? And what's your dominant selling idea? Here's the way we solve that problem. So things like ICP and DSI, all these things anchored in a identity that's got an internal perspective, a kingdom motive, is essential to help us say yes to things and no to things. It's easy in business to get lured into being opportunivores, where you just chase the next opportunity to make a buck or to grow a little bit. And that can be a way to throw a lot of points up on the scoreboard, but you rarely live and leave a legacy. And we have to not confuse execution and survival with winning and success. We want to get to the place where we've got such clarity of mission and we know where are we going. So vision. What's the future look like? What is success? One day when we get there, how will the world be a better place? What will we be accomplishing and making different in the world through all this effort? That's what anchors picking the right strategy and having the right execution. A few years ago, we had to go through a process applying all this to our own business of restating our mission, our vision. And not only that, we had to relook at our core values and our culture and go, what is that culture of our business going to be? What are the values going to be uniquely shaping how we get from here to there? Because we found ourselves disagreeing around strategy, execution, debating opportunities. If you can't say no to great opportunities because you got mission clarity, you are likely saying no to the opportunity for greatness all the time. That's why it's so important that we know who we are, what we're trying to be, the unique way we're going to do it, and where we're trying to get to, and then we can assess everything else. I like to say the example of if I said, we're going to take my family to the beach. Well, what mode of transportation are we going to take? Strategy? Are we going to go really fast, really slow? Are we going to get ice cream on the way? Are we going to meet up friends? Is it just a touch and go for a family photo? Are we going to stay and make memories? All those things require me to be clear about what's the mission of that trip. What's the vision of success of that trip? What's our family values going to be? If I know those things, I can then pick a strategy and assess our execution of that. But in the lack of it, we're going to have frustration, fumbles, and missed opportunities. And so that's why in the process of strategic planning, it's critical that we make sure, are we clear and are we integrated in our stewardship of the business in light of who we are, where we're going, and how we want to be as we get there.